Hello, and thank you for joining me back here for our live read of Junebug. I am so grateful, right, that you've taken your time and chosen to spend it, your very precious time with me. And I'm hoping that you grabbed your copy of Junebug at Amazon, Junebug, Cherie Doyen. You can also hop on my website, cheriedoyen.com. I've got a lot going on there. And let's just hop right back in. I am now haunted by the constant need to remember. But remember what? I don't really want to remember. I just want it all to be erased. I want one of the sides to just not be. It doesn't really matter to me which one, either me or them. Erased. There are worse things than not being born or dying. Carrying around all of these secrets, I'm tired. I'm tired of running, tired of fighting. I need to put them down. But how? Remember. Remember the tools that you were given as a child, June. Remember the strength you gained. You are a survivor, not a victim. Somehow, in all of my running, I've forgotten. I have forgotten who I am. I have forgotten my beloved Tigwa. The slumber has somehow begun to sneak up on me. Wake up and remember. I come to the realization with time that remembering my strengths and gifts outweighs the search for the pictures. How did I survive the war that was my childhood? How is it different from any real war? I lived dodging bombs daily, just a different kind. The result was the same, pain, near death, but I survived. Can these same tools be used to help me now? Help me let go of their secrets and find me? With the aid of the newfound tool of meditation, piece by piece, I began the process of removing the rubble that I'd been buried under. One by one, unlocking the doors to the secrets, and appearing beside each secret stood my strength, my power, my purpose. You're a survivor, June, not a victim. I'm finally realizing it doesn't matter what the people who claim to be my family do or think. Their movie and what that looks like becomes less important. They can live there in that out of sync place if they choose. I don't want to. Forgiveness is a really funny thing. I've read that true forgiveness comes only when all parties stand fully in the truth and take complete responsibility for their actions. That rarely happens, right? Hasn't happened for me. So I just decide to lay down my sword and walk in a different direction. No more fighting. Now we begin the process of bringing order to our lives. We fall into a comfortable routine and it feels good. Good to us. We don't have a dishwasher. The dishes and the house I let go. We keep the animals fed and watered and keep us fed and clean. Homework done mostly. And I work. And we do okay until they show up. Mom and Harold will swoop in like they're saving the day. They stay for a few days and there's lots of fancy food and lots of happy laughter. And we want to believe it's real. Then they leave again. Or Dad shows up. He's still ranting around, threatening to kill Harold. He has some choice names for him that I'll just leave left unsaid. His obsession keeps him occupied, and we live in between. I still drag the boys up most Sundays for church. We nestle in beside Grandma with thoughts of breakfast rolling around in our heads and bellies. Tradition is breakfast with Grandma, and this Sunday I can't get Kenny up, so Sam and I slide in the pew next to Grandma and the music starts and we stand. I hear this velvety, familiar voice echoing through the church. It's up in there in the choir loft. Bob Carney, he's back. I begin to bump into him everywhere. He's directing the choir now at church, so we all join. And before long, the music's taken from church and into our living room. Mom comes home for these nights. Bob's brother plays guitar and has a small band. He's been giving Sam lessons. It's fun to see Sam up there with the grown-ups making music. There's lots of singing, lots of dancing. Everything stops when Bob takes over the microphone and that big, beautiful voice fills the space. I gravitate to him. Things feel solid around him, safe. When he realizes that we're on our own out here, he begins to hang around and help me put the place back in order after our music nights. And after a while, he begins to show up early to help us get ready. He and I take on the pile of dishes in the kitchen, and I let them go for days and even weeks. Bob just dives right in, and he's so great with Sam. He comes over sometimes in the middle of the day just to play catch in the front yard. I stand at the kitchen window and I watch. It makes my heart happy to see Sam having the kind of fun that little boys deserve. An example of what a real man acts like, a good man. On occasions when Sam has plans, we get to go on real dates. I have a lot to learn from Bob. We only get one fork per person where I come from. New experiences, new food, right? Chinese food? It's bad enough to have to contend with all the different forks and spoons, but what if they bring me chopsticks? I just pretend to not be hungry on that date. Guess what? They go and they bring him a fork, right? So we go to plays in the city and art museums too. I break the heel to my fancy shoe the night he takes me to the symphony. I spend the entire rest of the evening tiptoeing around trying to pretend that I didn't. I'm exposed to a life I never knew existed. The music, the places, the culture. I'm learning, always watching. I observe everyone and everything around me. Back in the real world, we've been getting phone calls from Harold's wife. She'll only talk if Sam answers. Kenny and I just hang up. But poor Sam, the things she says to him about Mom, I don't care if they are true. No little boy needs to hear those sorts of things out loud about his mom. When we disconnect the phone entirely, she turns it up on all of us. Sam's at a sleepover. Bob and I are just getting back from a movie and a late night dinner. The headlights hit the house, and all of the air is pushed from my lungs as if someone hit me in the stomach. There are obscenities written in black spray paint all across the front of our White House. Some of the words I don't even understand. I'm gasping for air. It has to be Harold's wife. We didn't do anything to her. To any of them. We're just here, trying to live, breathe. Regaining my composure to some degree, I say, all of Sam's friends are going to be passing in a few hours for church. I can't let them see this. How will he ever show his face at school on Monday? What am I going to do? Bob sees I'm about at the tipping point and takes charge. Well, does your dad have some white paint? Are you serious? We can't cover it up. I think we can get it covered enough that it won't catch people's attention from the highway. It's the whole front. Look, they even got some on the rock. It won't be perfect, Joan, but it'll be better than this. Now, come on. Where does Kenny keep the paint? Bob's urging me to get moving, trying to prevent me from turning into a puddle. Down in the barn, he keeps the paint in the barn. He grabs my hand, pulling me in the direction of the door. What about brushes? Once in motion, I begin climbing out of the sinkhole I was falling into. I'll grab a flashlight. The brushes are in the big closet in the living room, if you want to grab a couple. I look at him, so grateful that he's here with me. He gives me an encouraging hug. Now, don't worry. We'll have it covered up in no time. Meeting back up front with paint and brushes, we spend the next few hours trying to mask the artwork that one of these wonderful adults has left us. Dad seems to just show up periodically in the middle of the night these days. I haven't cared enough to ask where he is when he isn't here, lurking. It's creepy to wake up to that feeling of being watched. He's just standing in the corner of the room in the dark, staring. Sam sleeps with a baseball bat. I don't seem to sleep much at all. One eye always open. Bob's invited me to go to Kentucky with him to visit family. So I make arrangements for Sam. We get the whole weekend. I wake up early that morning, and there he is, Dad, head drooped, sitting at the kitchen table. I try to pretend he's not there. I don't acknowledge him, and I go about my business of getting myself ready. I packed last night, thank goodness, less suspicion there. I sneak my suitcase into the hallway just out of view when I hear Bob's tires on the gravel drive. I'm sure my stomach fell a little when he turned the corner and saw Dad's truck in the driveway. He knows it's going to be tricky getting out of here. I answer the door and he gives me a wink. He steps past me with his hand out. Kimmy. Dad pushes back his chair. How you doing? Dad takes a moment, noticing my suitcase, looking from my suitcase to Bob, then to me. Where in the hell do you think you're going? We're going to go visit Bob's brother, I say, as confidently as possible. Where? Kentucky. We'll be back Sunday night. Sam's all taken care of. He's staying at Carl's for the weekend. I try to hurry and get it all out. He begins to shake his head no. You're not going anywhere. Take your suitcase on back to your room now. Bob jumps in. Kimmy, she's a grown woman. She can go wherever she wants. You have nothing to say about it. You can't stop her. Now, why don't you just sit back down? Dad starts to protest, but Bob says, no, I mean it, Kimmy. We'll be back in a few days. On that note, he grabs my hand, picks up my suitcase in the other, and we're out. Dad doesn't follow. And at that point, I know for sure. He tells Dad to sit down and shut up and gets away with it. I trust him. Bob's offered a teaching job in a city a few hours away at a fancy all-girls college. He decides to take it and is planning to move away. I'm not sure how I can live here without him. He's become such an integral part of our lives here. Kimmy's even begun to come out of his room sometimes to hang out when Bob's around. Now, don't worry, June. We can see each other on the weekends, and you can come visit me, and I'll be coming back home. What about Sam? I can't just leave him here. I'm not going to be able to get away for a whole weekend. I'm trying to fight the tears that are threatening to spill over. Sam's spending more and more time with your mom since your dad went into rehab, isn't he? Yeah, I guess so. It'll be fun, June. You'll see. You'll love it there. There's so much to do, so much life with all the students, people from everywhere, lots of music, lots of art. But what about the time in between? What happens here without my rock? My safety again, once removed. Things do seem to be better here with Dad out of the picture in rehab. Hopefully it works. Bob and I do the back and forth thing for a while. The more I'm out of the picture, the more Mom steps back in, which is good for Sam. She and Harold ran off and got married, so our house is for sale. It's time to move on. Bob asked me to marry him, and I accept. After all this, it's strange for us to be separated, the boys and I mean. Sam's going to live with Mom and Harold. Harold's good to Sam. Kenny's getting his own place. He's decided he's not living with either one of them ever again, never again. A new chapter for all of us. In my childhood bedroom, gathering the remnants that made up my life, I gently pick up the medicine pouch. Grandma gave it to me so long ago. One by one, I remove my precious treasures. My beloved panther, the tiger, and there's the teacher. The stone is cold in my fingers. I hold Tigla tight, remembering. I turn the totem over and over in my hand. I get the feeling of a presence behind me, so I turn quickly, startled. Teacher! I throw my arms around his neck. It's been too long. The time has come to move forward. Nothing can change as long as you are clinging to the scenery, June. The tide is turning now. I step back and take a moment looking at him intently. I keep having this dream. It's very weird. Bob takes me to the emergency room because the pain in my arm is so severe. I can't even think. The doctors take a look and decide it needs to come off. And using this laser kind of thing, they amputate. Just like that. No blood or anything. Anyway, as soon as they're done, we just walk out. And it's crazy. I leave the hospital with my arm feeling exactly the same. Arm or no arm. It was excruciating. I can still feel the pain. I looked into it. I think they call it phantom pain. I have the dream almost every night. The teacher takes me into his arms. June, the longing will be with you for a long, long time. Stepping away will leave a vacancy, a void where your family should be. These are their choices, June. If you stay, if you go, they're never going to be different. When the time comes that you can stop being an actor in their movie, it'll all begin unraveling at the seams. It's as if you're being removed from a cult, brainwashed. The deconstruction of the programming will come with time, with space and separation. It's time to make your own family now. Fill that vacancy with people of your choosing. The circle of family is whomever you choose to love, June. Love without demands in return and without secrets. Don't close your heart, June. I'm kind of afraid of people, I tell him. Love does not hurt, June. It's a person's choices that cause harm, not their love. From this moment on, you get to choose. You get to decide what is acceptable for you, what and who you want to be. His smile is warm and comforting. He continues with a tone of urgency. You will need to get far, far away and trust that people you need will be sent to you. Your journey is far from over, June, and it's not going to be easy. It's time to break free and begin the process of putting all these pieces in their places. Remember all you've learned. Look back through the events that have created your life and remember. The tools and truths you have gained will prove to be very useful to you in your future. Use them wisely. Don't allow yourself to be taken by the slumber. Remember, he begins to fade from sight. It's hard to swallow past the lump in my throat. This is all I've ever known. I take a moment and look around. I guess I never really believed this day would come. I put the last few things in the car and close the trunk. And with a weird mixture of anticipation and reluctance, I get behind the wheel of my metal horse. I start the engine and begin to back out of the drive, inching my way onto the highway. I hear a familiar voice, the voice of my dear old friend from the other side. Don't look back, June, I hear Tigla say. Don't ever look back. With that, I take his cue, turn up the radio, and drive. Destination, life. So I hope you've really been able to enjoy our live read of Junebug. We're getting close to her freedom, right? And the complications that came with trying to live outside of that house, right? So if you haven't yet, hop on Amazon, Junebug, Cherie, Doyen, pick up your copy. And if this story is ringing home for you, get on my website, cheriedoyen.com, book that freedom call, 30 minutes free, and let's see if we can get you from here to living life full out. Let's have a great day.